Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know if Becca told you, but I got a bail at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I got that note, John.
Yeah, if there's anything that you need to rearrange on the agenda, if people aren't waiting or, whatever, I'll certainly be here at 7 and do the best I can, but I'm just gonna log off at 7 and you won't see me anymore.
All right. Becca's having some computer problems. She'll be with us in a second.
All right.
And John, we got a quorum, so I don't think we got a problem with you leaving at 7.
Thanks, Tom. I heard you. I don't know if I had my mic on.
Okay.
All right, sorry, folks. Technical difficulties here.
Becca.
All right. My agenda out of the way and all right. Looks like a good crowd and looks like we have enough people to start the meeting. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So it is 6:06.
Yeah.
And the meeting can begin. And we have a new person. Hi, Ethan.
Hi,
Welcome.
Becca.
Have you had a chance to
Thank
get
you.
sworn in?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good to know. All right. Scoot this way. All right. What we got? All right, we've got Damien, we've got Zach. John, Tom, me. Okay. So the first thing on our agenda tonight. Oh, do we need Tom? Can you
Yes,
see everybody's contact information or like who's here? Do you need anybody clarified for the record?
I need Cheryl's last name on the iPhone. She's on mute.
Okay. I don't
And
know if
then
she-
there's a 02663. And there's a 508-349-0826.
Okay.
And there's a Raymond.
All right,
I don't know,
Cheryl, I
Raymond.
can see your face, but I can't hear you. Do we need to unmute you? All right, who has the power to unmute Cheryl?
Let me see, I might. No, I don't. Nancy,
Okay.
can you unmute Cheryl?
I don't think so. I don't think this is one of those. I think you do it yourself. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, Cheryl, there should be a little microphone next to the video. Oh, you're on a phone, so I'm not good with how to
Yeah,
do that.
okay.
You also might be able to go next to your name. I don't know. Anyways, 0826 is a Picard of some sort. Not sure who.
All right, well, I see both Alfred and Stephen already on. So maybe it's a backup phone for one of you guys.
Hussey's probably Bob Hussey.
Okay,
And I don't know who 02663 is. obviously.
02663 is Ralph Bassett, Karen Johnson, Richard Blakely, Nora Clark, Peggy Jennings, Ginny Parker.
all right.
Great crowd.
All right, so we got everybody?
Hey, Becca, it's Damien.
Hi, Damien.
Hi, real quick, I know John had to leave, I think 7-ish. I'll be kind of right behind him, probably 7:30-ish.
Okay,
Unfortunately, sorry. Just want to give you a heads up.
all right, so that's gonna necessitate some things. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda is to review and approve our April meeting minutes. Tom sent those out a couple days ago.
Correct.
Hopefully we've all had a chance to have a quick look over them. Put them somewhere. Did anybody have any changes related to those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Okay, does anybody want to second that?
I'll second, Tom.
Okay, all in favor?
Zach, yes.
John, yes.
Ethan, yes.
Even yes.
Tom, yes.
Stephen, yes, Tom, yes, and Becca, yes. Okay, all right, so the minutes have been approved. All right, so the next thing on our list is the Hatilda stream concerns from the Shellfish Department. Do you want to?
Hi there.
Hello, Nancy.
Hello. I will share my screen.
Thank you.
So, there was a couple of things. I watched the Shellfish Advisory Board meeting when I was away. And so there was a couple of things that I had as takeaways. One was to talk to neighbors, and two was to do a Google Earth of what the different, how the stream had changed places over time.
Right.
The other thing that I did, what I brought tonight, bear with me, where am I here? Oh, I see how this does it. So let me first, before we do that, go here. Oh, it looks like they didn't post it. Here we are. Never mind. Yes, of course they did. So here is the area that we're kind of looking at for the new grant that you guys all went out when I was away and you visited it. So here is scenario number 1, 0.26 acres. There were 4 stakes that you would have seen in the ground there. This lines up exactly with the buoys, the southward buoys, and those will stay in that exact place. But because it was so small, we decided we would try and do some other areas. And Stephen, I just remember that you had suggested maybe a configuration that would kind of cut out the stream, but give a little more acreage. So we did do that. And I wanted you to see that. So then there's this, which we cannot do because this is a wild oyster bar, and then it would make the whole entire area fail biological survey. Again, this one the same. And here is kind of something that we had done. We called it the Nevada. We went over this before, but I don't know, Stephen, if you were on the board then. So kind of Stephen's thought and our thoughts really matched up. So we call it the upside down Nevada, trying to keep as much of the stream out, but giving as much area as possible. Now, the only thing is that, you know, you're supposed to keep a 25-foot buffer between grants. So this is what we have here, but we could ask the abutters if they were okay with it, but there might be other reasons besides just abutting. I mean, we have lots and lots of grants that line up one against the other, Lieutenant Island, Old Wharf Point, most of Indian Neck, Egg Island. So I don't see it being a big problem, but you know, we also want to make sure that there's ways in and out for people, either by truck for you guys going to this grant, whoever would get this grant, which you could also perhaps access over here, but I think it would be a little trickier. And then just, I mean, it might not be a corridor that would be that important for kayakers or something like that, but it's just a concern that we should all be taking into consideration. But this is the one that, and this is 0.48 acres. This is kind of the one that the Shellfish department thought would be, you know, a nice little grant. And the other, or we could just keep it like this, and this would be 0.33 acres. So, you know, this would be another iteration for your consideration. So this, at least we get, you know, almost a half an acre. But so these are what we have proposed for consideration. And then let me just go, oops. I'm not the chair, so should I recognize, or Becca, do you want to recognize?
Let me see if I can see anybody here.
Ryan has his hand up.
Okay, I can't see that. So yes, please. Ryan, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so with the buffer zones, the exact language is there shall be a buffer zone contiguous for the perimeter of any licensed area that is either 25 feet wide or 1/2 the distance to the adjacent licensed parcel if less than 50 feet, except where 2 licensed areas abut. It is the responsibility of the license holders to keep the area clear of equipment or gear or owned by the licensee. So it basically says 25-foot buffer, but unless they abut, and if they abut, then there's no buffer. So
Right. So it gives
no,
us some leeway.
yeah, there's no, yeah.
But it's just a consideration. I would never do something like this without asking the abutter. So that's just why I have it out here for consideration. Okay, so now I'm going to go over to this document. This is how we do it here. So here's something that you guys asked for, and I'm going to try and enlarge this because I find it a little hard. So the earliest is from 1985, which is at the back. So it's the last photo in these. So do you guys want to see them oldest to newest or newest to oldest? Or the oldest image in this document is 1995.
Oldest to newest?
Oldest to newest. So Okay, so, you know, Jordan, look at her. She's extremely detailed. I hope you had a second to read that. Explaining things. So let's go down to the bottom here. Oops. All right, and let's see how big I can make this. All right, so here is the stream in 1985, April of 1995. March of 2000. It's definitely more in the middle here than it is now. December of 2001, much more to the left here. July of 2002, really big up here. This is 20 years ago. I'm just kind of putting it in context. March of 2004. May of 2004. Wow, it's all the way over here. Interesting. Though not a low tide image, I thought the divide this creek makes on that part of Indian Neck is interesting. So it must be like a higher ground and a lower ground.
Wow.
2007. Wow. 2008. You know, and as Stephen said too, like there's nothing like boots on the ground. Like this is providing us with information. But you know, he was the one who said we should really go out there. So I want you to put this in context also with what you saw. This is 2010. This is 2010. 2012, so 10 years ago. So that looks like that might be that oyster bar forming. Oh, but it's gone, so who knows? 2014, 2015, 2016, 20, you know, what I'm noticing is like this area seems to be a little bit outside of the movement of it. Does anyone want to see anything else here? Go back. Okay. So the other, I'm just gonna read from my text. So the abutter here has only been there for like a year and a half, 2 years, 2 years, I think. So doesn't have a lot of context to bring a lot of light to shed on this movement here. This and this, these abutters have not been out there in a very long time. They're having a minimum productivity hearing at the end of the month. So, you know, I really can't ask them. I did ask a couple other people that aren't immediate abutters, and I did get one person to write me back, and so as is now, it could work on a smaller scale farm using cages, maybe on the firm part of the bottom. There hasn't been a lot of gear around that. And so, you know, maybe that's why it's, you know, there isn't, if there was a lot of gear, it might be served better to be drainage for the area. But since there isn't a lot of gear there, it might be able to work for somebody. He thinks that the stream will continue to drain and flow regardless. Whoever got the farm, they would just kind of have to work around it. But maybe, you know, again, we're all trying to make a decision here so that we're not setting somebody up for failure, basically. So maybe our idea, I remember that we discussed maybe starting small, letting the person out there get a feel for it. And if it looks like something that is really workable and they've been able to do minimum productivity for their first 3 years or something out there, maybe they could then ask for an extension. Something like that might make the most sense. And starting with something, either a quarter an acre or a third of an acre. But I put this out to you guys for a discussion, and that's, I believe, the feedback that you were waiting for from the department.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any comments?
I'm wondering what type of events change the stream? When does it move? Do we have any understanding? Does it move during the winter, like heaviest rains in the spring? Or is it just a gradual thing over the time of the year? Because I'm wondering if it's could be more concentrated in the winter when people are taken up. Maybe it's not as big a concern as we think it is.
A lot of these pictures are taken in, seems like March, April, and May. Okay, here's one from December.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd be able to determine it from the pictures, but more just a general understanding from people, if anyone has any experience noticing the changes,
Yeah, the problem is that the person who's there, to the right has only been there for 2 years, and the person to the left, it hasn't been out there in a very long time. So I don't really have that kind of feedback for you because there's nobody, you really have to be right there to notice it. You would notice it if you were an immediate abutter. I don't think, the only person that I know that, regularly is around that I asked, and that was the feedback that I read. Helen? You're muted, Helen.
Sorry. I have a question about those 2 grants that you just referred to as coming in under use it or lose it regulation. They may be with nobody named to them if the forfeiture process goes through. So those would be 2 available grants, correct? Nancy, through you, Becca, to Nancy.
That's the select board. Is it, if that's what the select board decided, correct?
Yes.
There's a total of 8 grants and 7 people, I think it is,
Well, when I'm
for the
looking at-
May 24th.
The reason I asked you, and we don't know the outcome, it's a process, but that would, there would be 2 available grants without blocking the stream off. For those of you who weren't there, I went to the site visit about this. And these photos, in conjunction with what I learned looking and listening at the site visit, is very helpful to me. Thank you.
I can't see if anybody has any hands up.
No.
You can. Okay. Have we talked to the NRAB at all, or any of the other groups like that, about whether this would even
It's
be an
really
area we can
CONSCOM.
use? CONSCOM?
Yeah, I mean, that would be maybe a good next step, is to just ask them if it looks like, that's something that they would permit.
Well, it seems like
If
there
they don't
is.
permit it, they issue an order of conditions. Would they issue an order of conditions?
Okay. Before we get too far into this, we might want to ask them that. Historically, there seems to have been a reason why this wasn't a grant already.
All right, I can try and get on their agenda, and then I would let you guys know so that you could also attend that meeting.
Okay. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Does anybody else think that's a good idea? Not a good idea?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, great. So we don't have to waste any more time on this.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Oh, the next thing is me too. So can I just launch right in?
Sure.
Okay, I sent you all the memo or the article. Let's just call that up. Where is it? I hope I sent that over. Oh, I don't think I did. Yes, I did. Of course I did. Okay, so this is article number 22 in this year's annual town meeting warrant. And I think I got spun around by coming to you with the increase for this year, and then I forgot to do the increase for next year. And I thought you should weigh in. And Danny Silverman, the moderator, already knows that it will be a vote that he will report on the floor of town meeting. So every year we ask to use money. Does anybody, I'll just give a very quick overview. So the revolving fund was created, I believe, in 2019, and it's 75% of all revenues that come into the Shellfish, from Shellfish revenue. So commercial permits, recreational permits, and grant fees. 75% go into this revolving fund for propagation that can only be spent on propagation activities and efforts. And 25% stay in the Shellfish fund, which is how we usually pay for like our trucks. It's how we're going to get hopefully repairs to the office, which is leaking. So, but this fund can only be used for propagation. And what we've done is put in 40 to cover. So our propagation budget for the town used to be $46,000. Now it's gone to 40, and then the 6 comes from the town and 40 comes to the Shellfish revolving fund. And usually what I do is because I've had to come back before, I've added an extra 10 just in case something opportunity comes available. Then I come to you and I go to the select board for authorization on how to spend it. So this is just the regular 50. I think this is the second or third year that we've been doing it at 50. Tom?
Yeah, hey, Nance, thanks, Becca. Nance, what do you usually spend, number one? And is this kind of a consistent thing going through the town that they're asking departments, is going to be a limit on certain spending?
No, I would like to actually, whenever you want, I would like to make an announcement about what's going on with the budget when it's appropriate, maybe at the end of the meeting or maybe here, because we're talking about that. You guys can let me know, but this is separate. So this is a fund that does not get touched by the town ever. This is a fund that is only restricted to propagation activities, and it's managed by the Shellfish Constable with oversight from Shellfish Advisory and the Select Board. So every year at town meeting, the town populace has to approve a spending limit. We take in, let's say we take in about $100,000 a year between permit fees and grant fees. And then we spend about, let's say, we've been spending 46 from propagation fund, which used to be our line 180. So we spend about 40 from this, plus we've spent money during COVID, like $10,000 here and there. So we always have more money coming in than we have going out, but it can never be used by the town, and it turns over from year to year. You never have to finish it. That any interest goes to the general fund, but the actual principal that's in there just gets turned over year to year. So, my goal at one point is to be able to take Johnny's salary out of there, and that would lighten the burden. But, we're a long way from that. It's just, an idea down the road. Barnstable does this, Chatham does this, Barnstable is an immense revolving fund, and they do pay for staff out of it. So it's kind of like my dream in the future. But for now, I just need $50,000 for fiscal year 23, which begins July 1.
Thanks.
Any other questions about this? Again, I can't see anybody if you're raising your hands.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
straightforward.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
Just to be clear, Nancy, you're looking for $10,000, is that right?
It's $50,000. So I would look for a motion to either approve or not approve the spending limit of $50,000 for the Shellfish Revolving Fund for fiscal year 23.
Which gives you the $10,000 buffer, is that right?
Correct. Which this year actually might only be 4,000, and I can explain that later. Because I might take the entire $46,000 from here. If the
I make-
override doesn't pass.
I make a motion to approve the Shellfish Department's request for the $50,000 for the revolving fund.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Zach, yes.
Yes,
Steve, aye.
Tom, yes.
Ethan, yes.
All right,
Ethan, yes.
Rebecca, yes.
I feel like I'm
Damien?
missing somebody.
Damien?
Did you delegate alternates to vote, Becca?
Not yet, actually. Just gonna say that. I think Damien and Ethan are both alternates. So as long as we still have enough people.
wait a half hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna put down 5-0. And
Okay.
actually, if Tom, you want to shoot that even just to me, and then I can forward it to the moderator, or you could forward it to moderator at
Nah,
Wellfleet F.
I'll shoot it to you. Last time I sent a note to him, it bounced back to me. I didn't have his right email.
Okay.
I'll shoot a
great,
note
I'll
to
do
you.
that.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Okay,
Right. You unscreen share.
commercial part request for dragging and dredging.
All right. Is anybody here to discuss that tonight? Damien, I think this was the one that you were curious about. I don't know if anybody's come to discuss this or not.
No, I didn't realize we were picking it up on the agenda again. I thought we discussed it and kind of left off,
Okay,
feeling like it didn't need further discussion until, I don't know.
okay,
So my phone starts to ring.
yeah. All right, so I guess we're done with that. But we're moving right along. Okay. So we're going to discuss regulation pertaining to ARC, potential recommendations for select board hearing. At this time, I am designating Damien because he has been here for the whole conversation until he needs to leave, because he's the alternate, and then it will go to Ethan, who's also an alternate, should there be a vote after Damien leaves. I am recusing myself. And I guess I'll turn off my screens, or my picture, so you can't see me, to make that clear. Tom, you're on. Good luck.
All right, great. Hey. All right, yeah, thanks, Becca. All right, I had sent out a document that was worked on by some of the town, Helen, Nancy, and also I think the legal counsel. And I think the best alternative right now is to, before we review that, is there any discussion that wants to happen before we start talking about potential recommendation for the select board hearing? No discussion?
Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Alfred. Card.
Hey, Alfred, go ahead.
I have a question on point of order on this.
Go ahead, Alfred.
Under the agenda, It says it's discussion regulations pertaining to ARC and potential recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. It does not say in here anywhere where we're discussing new regulations. I think this is a little deceiving. I don't think it was done personally. But I think that it should say in here what the regulations are, or it certainly should say that there are new regulations. Not only that, it says they are for ARC, and the proposed regulations do not mention ARC anywhere in them. So I think that it's a little deceptive under the open meeting law, because it does not say in here, unless I'm confused, that you're creating new regulations or the proposal of them.
Well, Alfred, you make a good point. I think where we were headed was we were anticipating this next step.
Well, I disagree with. I think that I would like the members of the board make a statement in each one of those things, because I do believe that this is not. I don't believe that those recommendations actually come out of this advertisement for the meeting.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
Helen's hand is up.
I didn't ask
Go
for
ahead,
Helen,
Helen.
please. Through you, Tom, I asked the board, the Shellfish Advisory Board, not the public yet.
Any comments from the board?
I can't hear Alfred at all. Does everybody else hear him fine?
Yeah,
Ethan.
I could hear him pretty
It's-
well.
Yeah, I got him.
I can hear you fine. What's that?
I can hear
I will
him.
repeat. Can you hear me now, Ethan?
Ethan, can you hear
I'm
Alfred
not
now?
sure why I can hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, my question was,
Thanks.
I sorry you couldn't hear me. My question was how we got from what the actual advertisement says, because the advertisement is very clear to me. It doesn't say we're creating any new regulations. It says we're discussing the regulations pertaining to ARC, which I would believe would be under the original ones we have now. We're going to discuss the next set of them, because it does say for ARC. In the next set of regulations, I cannot find in it that it has ARC in it anywhere. So I'm a little confused how you can get from one to the other without advertising it properly. I think this is a violation of the open meeting law, the way it was advertised. My question was whether or not any of the other board members had thoughts on that.
Hey, Tom, it's John.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Is it possible that somebody, I did not read the advertisement, so I'd certainly like to hear it if anybody has a copy of it.
I'll be happy to read it.
Yep, please.
Actually, have Tom read it. That way there, it'll be clear in case you can't hear me.
Tom, have you got it up?
So there's no advertisement because it's not a public hearing here. It will be advertised as Alfred is saying. It will be a very specific advertisement for the select board hearing when they have a public hearing on it. But this was just part of the agenda, and it was we're just talking about regulations. So the select board did direct the Shellfish Department to work on regulations regarding ARC, and that we needed, once we had finished working on them, we needed to bring them to the SAB for review and a recommendation before bringing it back to the select board.
So is that where we are now? Did you send those proposed regulations to us?
Yes, I did today.
I
They
also
were
sent it
finished
to you, John.
yesterday.
All right, I didn't have a chance to look at it, and I apologize for that.
I guess, I guess the comments I've been getting, and I honestly think the community's split on this. Shellfish community is 50-50. But I read the regulations, but I'll go back to the last select board meeting that Ryan ran, and where we had the attorney going through the regs. And I thought the attorney was pretty explicit with domicile. And yeah, that's what the regs are today. And I think that's what we've been talking about. So if the regs today say you got to be domicile, I'm struggling with, is this premature? The new, doing the new regs? I know the select board asked it, but I just don't have a good feeling that they pushed off the vote. And now we're kind of in the middle, going back and forth on, well, we've been talking about this topic for 3-4 months now. We have the regs in place. I guess on Alfred's point, changing regs or altering regs for an individual or individuals. I mean, this is a one-time deal or two-time deal. I think could be dangerous. I know we changed the domicile regulations when we had the housing issue. We went from 30 days to 18 months, but that was pain to the shellfishing community in total. I think Nancy, you had mentioned 3 or 4 individuals had lost their homes and had to find something elsewhere, and they weren't going to be able to find something in 30 days. So I see that as a change. But I'm just wondering if this is just premature, or I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it.
Well, I could offer a suggestion. I mean, I think that at this point, if the idea was being is that we were supposed to be reviewing some regulation changes today and give our opinion, which it sounds like what we're being asked to do is give our opinion about these new regulations. I think we need time to digest them. So this needs to be pushed off, and we need to be explicit about what we're talking about, because if what we're talking about is reviewing new regulations for this particular situation with ARC, which is the domicile situation, people need to know about it. And I just think it's, again, I'm not comfortable right now commenting on it because I haven't seen any of the proposed new regulations. And if that's what we're being asked to do is provide our opinion on it, we just need to push this off to the next meeting. That's my suggestion.
All right. Thanks, John. Helen, you got your hand up.
Yeah, and that's reasonable. I understand that. Let me clarify a few things. First of all, Nancy Chavetta, Greg Corbo, myself, and I had permission from the town administrator to speak with Greg about this, and Chrissy Petipus at the DMF, and Mike Hickey, and input from numerous people in the community. This is pertaining to, but not tailored for ARC. It's for any entity, let's say another hatchery, not domiciled, not with headquarters here in Wellfleet, who might want to come in and not only have a lease here or simply be in different parts of the harbor on other people's leases, but that they would be able to do something which is not the same at all. And Nancy Chavetta and I found that out only recently. And for me, I got to the bottom of it after wondering about it since 2003, okay? We finally got to the bottom of it. We have a regulation right now on the books that's about a very different other kind of special permit. It's for science. And it's perfectly crafted, and it has nothing to do with this reg. This regulation is part of 7.8.2, which is our domicile requirement and exceptions. And if we could do a screen share, by all means, put it off if you don't want to talk about it. I get that. And it was only finished yesterday because it had to be really right before it was finished. Could we screen share this?
I have a point of information on this again. We're talking about something that I don't believe, whether or not it was advertised right, has been discussed properly yet. Helen, I understand Helen's point of view, okay, but she's basically taken the meeting and putting her thoughts out there on something that I question if it was still advertised properly.
This does pertain, may I answer, Becca, through you?
Yeah, Tom, yes, go ahead.
Tom, yes, right, Becca's recused. Alfred, I absolutely, it's up to you if you guys didn't feel it was advertised properly, but it says pertaining to ARC, which it does. It isn't for ARC. That's
I didn't, Helen, I'm not going to debate that with you. I mean, it doesn't matter who it's for. My question is, was this, because of the wording, actually advertised properly?
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, I've given you whatever information I have about it. Nancy also has information. But the last thing I want to say, and I can copy you with these documents, the committee with these documents. Chrissy Pedipus informed us that locally, you know, we can have a local regulation for this.
We're back to the same point, Helen.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry to be rude.
you're not.
But I mean,
I'm getting off now, and I thank you for letting me speak and clarify a few things, Alfred. It's fine. I really am completely just here to listen and answer any questions along with Nancy. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Helen. Damien, you still got your hand up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of was with John, and I haven't had much time barely to look at the proposed regulation. I believe the final draft just came to us this morning. I'm not really ready for conversation about this proposed legal change. I don't know. I'm kind of with putting this off.
So, Tom, just to say again with the suggestion here is, would it be appropriate to say that this document should be part of the select board pack, or it should be part of, it should be on the town website. So what we should be able to do is, this is a proposed change that we're going to discuss at the next meeting. And I think the advertisement should be pretty simple. It should be discussing, and you can just use the title. It's up above there on the top. It's about ARC, because it's discussing special permit for ARC if you want.
No, it's not. It's not for ARC.
Okay, what would you suggest the topic be for to advertise it? In other words, what would be the proper thing to get people to know what we're talking about if this is what we're talking about?
If I may.
Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, just use the title of the reg. 7.8.2B, Special Combination Aquaculture Research and Development License. That's what this is. It may or may not affect ARC. ARC Select Board could, you know, approve this regulation, which is an opportunity the town should keep on the books.
Okay, so that 7.8.2 is that's already in there, is what you're saying right now.
No, 7.8.2B.
All right, and so that is not in there, but that's what we're going to be discussing, isn't it? So then you would say discussing 7.8.2B proposed changes to.
No, proposed change to 7.8.2, which is exemption.
Okay, then that's very simple. Then I think that's what we should do. And I don't know if it's appropriate to share that document with the public so they can see it, or if it's just amongst our board until we get to the meeting. If the public shows up to a meeting and that's what we're going to be discussing, they should be able to look at it, is my opinion.
Go ahead, Nancy. Thanks,
It's
John.
already online, John.
Well,
It's
there you go.
online on your, it's on the Shellfish Advisory Board agenda page, and I sent it out to the shellfishing community today. Now, you know, it didn't give a lot of advance notice. I totally agree. But I'm just trying to follow what the select board delegated to me to do
All right,
as
well,
quickly as
again,
possible.
That's good then. I would just suggest that we just as we suggested, let's push this off to the next meeting. So I'm just not prepared to discuss it at this point, me personally.
Any other thoughts from the board?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would like to have some time to get feedback from people.
Yeah, especially
Right,
on
sir.
Zoom, it's hard to digest digest it all. I'd like to kind of look at it over it in person, my own time for a minute.
I'll share my screen for one more minute and just show you that this is a draft hearing notice that is not ready to go because the regulation changed from when this was drafted. But just so you all know, we're on the right track. And when it goes to this, once you all have had a chance to review it, it will be going to the select board. So this is not when, but so we are doing things the way we did not do that for Shellfish Advisory because it wasn't a public hearing. But at the select board, it will be a public hearing. It will be duly advertised, just so you know.
Any other comments from the public? Well, listen, based on Alfred's comments and being uncomfortable, I assume there's a few others being uncomfortable that we didn't advertise this properly and give people enough time. And then we got 3 or 4 members of the board that need more time to discuss this and to kind of understand it in their spare time. I like to make a motion that we just push this off to our next meeting.
I'll second.
Is that you, John?
Yes, that was me.
Any
Steve
other
Picard?
comments?
Yeah, Steve Picard, I have one comment. I think
Go ahead, Steve.
what Damien said, I think we need this thing to be an in-person meeting. I was told that the town is gonna be able to let us use the senior center soon. So I think that would be a better way of doing this meeting for this. So that people can bring this piece of paper with them, and if they have questions in it, it'd be a lot easier to deal with it, I think.
Yeah, good point. I understand that, I was talking to Jennifer in the town. I understand after May 24th, they'll have the equipment, and she gave me a name to be able to go get the meeting squared away at the COA. So hopefully our next meeting, I assume it's going to be after May 24th, we'll have a face-to-face. Hopefully. All right, we got comments from Stephen. I made the motion. John seconded. Are you gonna take a vote?
Zach,
Zach?
yes.
Yes.
Steve, yes.
Ethan, yes.
Tom, yes. All right, 5-0. Nance, I could work with you and Helen to make sure we advertise this properly.
Oh, yeah. I'm just glad I got feedback that people would rather do it in person anyway. So.
Yeah, I got
think
the same
that
feedback.
I think that the next select board meeting might be on June 7th. So if you want to try and meet the first week of June, right after Memorial Day, maybe you could get them the feedback they're looking for and we could ask to have it on that agenda.
All right. Okay. Well, I can bring back Becca. Becca, you there?
All right, I'm back.
All right.
Might be the fastest meeting we've ever had.
If there's nothing left except for future topics, I wouldn't mind making an announcement just to bring you all up to date on what's going on with the budget. And if you decide that you want to talk about it and deliberate about it, then we can put it on a future agenda. But right now I would just, make a public announcement about it for people in the shellfishing community.
Sounds good.
Okay, so every town department, so the town is operating, the town will need an override, a 2.5% override in order to continue operating at the level with which it's been operating. And most budgets are pretty much level funded, but we have had, we haven't had an override in many, many years. I'm not going to be as good at explaining this as some of the select board members are. However, the town administrator came to each of us asking for a contingency budget, because if the override doesn't pass, then jobs are on the line, services are on the line. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do the same things that we've been doing now without an increase in the without this override, 2.5% override. So from a Shellfish point of view, we will need to cut our seasonal staff. And with that, we will only operate the recreational fishery from June 1st to September 30th on Sundays. We will no longer do the Wednesday fishery. We need 2 deputies on Lizard's Ledge on Indian Neck because there's so many people there anyway. And there's just no way to effectively manage that fishery without 2 people in that very large expanse with 4 entrances. So that will be a change. And because we also lose about 17 hours a week for 6 months out of the year of administrative assistance, we will not do any regulation changes or grant hearings between May and October, because we just won't, it takes so much paperwork, and that's the time where we really need to be prioritizing being in the field. The 2 part-time deputies will spend 2 days on propagation and 1 day on the rec fishery. And then, just Johnny, Chris, and I have got to be on propagation, on grant inspections, on Vibrio controls. There's just too many other things between May and October. So that means that we'll just concentrate our grant stuff and our regulation activities for the winter months. I know other towns already do that naturally. Towns that have only 1 constable, for example, in Eastham, that's the way they do it because they don't have the staff to do it in the summertime. And I think that's it. But for the Shellfish department, I might have forgotten something, but those are the 2 big ones that I think you should know about. In addition, the transfer station will be open 5 days a week year round. We will not have 7 days a week at the transfer station in the summertime. There will be no amnesty day. Lifeguards will not be extended. I think the lifeguards and the seasonal help for the beach department will end around the 3rd week in August. There'll be the preschool voucher program is going away if the budget override doesn't pass at the polls. The preschool voucher program, unfortunately, is not going to be able to be funded, and there'll be no afternoon rec in the summertime. They'll just be rec from 9 to 12, but the afternoon rec they won't be able to fund that. And it's all because we're losing staff. So then these services will be cut. The library will only be open 5 days a week in the summertime. And they'll be closed from now on Mondays, starting July 1st, if the override doesn't pass. So it's been a really stressful and difficult exercise to go through, honestly, because none of us want to be cutting staff, much less services. But there's nothing that we can do. So I believe the town will be putting out a fact sheet containing these points so that people understand that if you don't vote for the override, then the services unfortunately are going to have to be cut. The town administrator feels like we're running on a shoestring budget as it is, that this isn't a town with a lot of fluff. So that's just where we are. But I would encourage you, I believe they're going to try and do a Wellfleet forum on this too. And I would just encourage you to get, inform yourselves and educate yourselves as you move forward on the budget topic.
Hey, thanks, Nancy.
I don't know that I don't think I can take questions because I'm just.
No, it's not in the agenda.
No question.
I see Brad's hand up and I see Helen's hand up.
Yep.
May I go first just to tag on to what Nancy said, not to discuss it, but to be absolutely clear. There are going to be 2 articles on the warrant. One is a budget that would require overrides, but which would have us continuing as we usually do, which is a little bit austere after the last couple of years. And if that passes at town meeting and it passes at the ballot, then it'll go on as normal. If it doesn't pass at town meeting, there is a contingency budget on the same warrant on June 11th that will do what Nancy has just described, which is pretty grim. But you understand, if there's no budget passed at all, not the first one, or the contingency one, there's no budget. It doesn't, nothing's going to happen. Salaries won't be paid. It's pretty scary. So
Can I just jump in here? Because I'm Brad Morris, it's Diane Brunt.
okay,
And what I was gonna say sort of goes over what you're
Can you let Helen finish for a minute?
I'm
You're
almost
next.
done.
You're next.
I apologize, Diane, just let me finish. But you can hear all this described very well on our meeting last night on the recording. The section that's about this with the departments going through it and Charlie Sumner explaining it is a very good way to understand it better. Thank you. Sorry, Diane, I'm done.
That's okay, Helen. I didn't.
Diane, it's your turn.
What I was saying was gonna sort of, it'd be obvious, better to go first. I was just gonna say, in light of what Alfred said earlier, it seems like this is super important. The ideas Nancy's throwing out have been, carefully crafted to deal with this, and this issue is super important. So I think it needs to be advertised on the agenda, so particularly fishermen and members of the community can be on the SAB meeting where it's going to be discussed. Like Nancy went through a lot of things, and even board members are gone now, and I think Alfred's gone now. So I feel like everything you just said, Nancy, needs to be said in a meeting where it's on the agenda that's going to be said.
Yes,
I
yes,
really
that was
agree with
for
Alfred about
future meetings. Yes, that will go on the next meeting agenda. Thank
Okay,
you.
awesome. Thanks.
We're not having a debate or
That's
a
a great
discussion about
point,
it
and
tonight. It's
I
just
read-
updating. Mhm.
Yep. So agenda for future items.
Yes. Are there any other agenda future items?
Oh, I might have some. Hold on, let me just look quick at my running list.
Hey, Nance, what about that beach
Bear with me a
nourishment?
Right, the
Nance,
beach renourishment meeting you were supposed
Yes,
to be having.
that's
re-
with,
they-
that's
They
with
reached out to us in February.
Conservation
We haven't heard
Commission.
since. Yeah. Yeah, they reached out to us in
So I would
February.
reach out to Hillary then. Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One, Ryan asked you guys to look at a 30-day public hearing notice for minimum productivity. I asked you about changing the annual report to be the one from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries. That was suggested by shellfishermen to me because they're sick of doing double the paperwork. And then there was one other, and then the form that town administration worked on, so that grant holders who do want to appeal have a form that they have to fill out. And then it will also make them responsible for the advertising fees for those appeals. So that is a form. I'm just going to take myself a note here. Form for appeal process. They did a great job, but you guys need to look at it before we implement it.
Okay.
So those are three things that well, one was from the select board and two were from me.
All right, we getting those down, Tom?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if we still had an audience, but did Nancy, was she still waiting on applicants for the shellfish purchasing?
Yeah,
reseed Indian
thank
net?
you. That's great. Yeah, so we have $2,000 from our grant from the Sea Grant, and Mass Oyster Project gave us money to help with COVID relief. So we buy 3-inch oysters from shellfish farmers, 1,000 oysters for $500. And, this was great last winter. I don't know whether it's so appealing now, but we do need to spend at least that $2,000. And the Shellfish Department had said, we will put in from the Revolving Fund, matching. But, we did every single person who wanted to do it in December, and we still have some money left over. So on May 20th, it's a Friday. It's after a week of negatives. we would like to buy at least 5,000 oysters from 5 growers. We pay 500 each. That we would put actually in the Burton Baker area, so recreational only. And it's the area that we've had closed since last year for the contaminated relay. So we're just going to really stock it up. So it's a wonderful place for people to go, right as we open on June 1. And even though we're in Vibrio season, we are going to dump them on the 20th so that they have a 10-day re-soak, and we can open it on June 1 without having any Vibrio concerns. So spread the word, and please contact Chris or me, if you're interested and you didn't do it before.
And Becca, I had one more question to you or Nancy. Pertaining, I kind of lost track, but whatever happened with access to South Lieutenant's Island into the Audubon there on the road?
Do you remember
That
Nancy?
passed at Conservation Commission. Yeah, sorry, I'm just jumping right in because we're moving so fast. That passed at Conservation Commission, and Audubon worked with me and the Public Rights Public Access Committee. So they know that that area opens on October 1, and they're going to do their best to get it filled in before October 1.
Great.
Great.
Because that
Thanks for
area
that
by
update.
now it's about to close. So they didn't have enough time now to get it all together.
Okay.
It's a one-time deal from the best of my knowledge of remembering from that Conservation Commission meeting. They're going to let them do it one time to see how it goes.
Sometime between now and
It's better
October,
than
it'll be
nothing.
filled in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what else have we got?
Let's set a future meeting date. Nance, what'd you say? Select board's meeting June 7th?
They might, I mean, I'm not in charge of their schedule, obviously,
All right.
but that would be the next time I think that they have a meeting. And where hopefully it could be accommodated. So maybe that week after after Memorial Day weekend. I haven't looked at the tides, but I can look at them now.
How does Wednesday the 1st look?
That's good.
Works for me.
Make it work. All the maps here.
Time are we talking?
Evening.
Well, it's an 8, it's a 1.7, 8 o'clock low, sunset at 8:16.
And what time's our meeting?
Usually they're at 6.
Needs to go later.
Yeah, it's
Sun-
probably that time.
Sunset's at
Go to
8:15.
7. Let's go to 7.
Yeah,
It's our summertime.
And we want to do this face to face, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think Ryan's got his hand up.
Yeah, so a
Yes.
comment was made about the select board schedule. I've been asked by the town administrator not to have any additional shellfish items until after the town meeting at this point. So town meeting's June 21st.
Oh, that helps. Okay.
Well, it'll give us time to discuss it, and if there's more to it, we can spend the time on it.
Yeah, and for that reg, we would only take it up after the SAB has been done, has finished, so.
And respectfully, town meeting is on June 11th, not June 21st.
Sorry, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. But you have to know that June 21st is when the ballot election, the special election is. So in terms of this town meeting, that's when all those financial articles are going to get voted on, the override articles. So it's June 11th, Saturday, and June 21st, which is a
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So we'll aim for a in-person meeting on Wednesday, the 1st of June at 7. Let us know if there's any other agenda items anybody would like to see put on a future meeting. And is there anything else before we finish?
Tom, will you contact? Sorry, will you contact the COA? Tom?
Yeah, I forget her name, but I have it somewhere. Jennifer sent me her name.
Terry Frazier.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
I think it's Terry
We'll look her
Frazier.
up.
I'll send it out now.
All right.
Great.
Double checking the agenda, but I think we're done.
I think so.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to end the meeting? All right. I'm moving to end the meeting at 7:13 this evening.
I'll second.
We're ready to go, everybody?
Zach, yes.
All right.
Ethan,
Yeah.
yes.
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 Yes. All right.
Oh,
Me, of
yes.
course, yes. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Next time.